2, 1. No, they got the 3, 2, 1. Royal Day, Royal Day. Let me see if I can get. Welcome to Cosmic Mind UV, man. And I have an excellent guest. Man, we getting this volume together. Getting the volume together.
One, two, 1, 2.
There it is.
Respect.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah. Come on, son. Royal Day, G. Hold on. Let me get my applause ready. We gotta get the applause ready. This was a lot of work to rock steady. We gotta get the applause ready because this was a lot of work to rock ready. Royal Day, peace and love. Sacred space, here with Buddha E. What is going to be the topic for the day and the topic of elevation for the day? What do we got?
We call it the deactivation of the Willie Lynch chip. We had
Oh,
we have a lot of concepts that's going on in today's time frame. So there's still more mentality, physical, spiritual, wake up calls that we're having. So I don't know if everybody paid attention to the moon that just happened just this last cycle. It became a 19th to the 20th, and we're already on that day. So 21, our expression starts to change up from the moon cycle. So, just be mindful of your feelings. Emotion, feelings, they definitely play a part to this time frame. But yeah, so it's called the deactivating of the Willie Lynch chip.
deactivating of the Willie Lynch chip. So, being that we're live right now as we're building right now. First off, do we want to let's do a quick introduction. Who is Buddha E? Who is Eternal El-Bey? Introduce yourself, please, and all the things you got going on.
Well, I gotta start from the beginning.
All right, let's get it.
respect. Give thanks. Respect. The sounds of Buddha became the sound of the instrument. So from the further part, of course, before we travel out of here, I'll give you the last part from where I started from. The dance was one though. The drum was the other. And so as I learned from other people, they tell me, just like you hear from James Brown, they say the music starts from the drum and everything as an instrument is that. So it helped me realize my ability as Buddha, as my life from 75 in age of time frame of the year to the actual, year of the rabbit coming out of the hole. I'm a deuce of spade, which that helps interact the masculine and the feminine of ambidextrous people that not a lot of us really work with. So it comes to this point now as Buddha became eternal from a ENL, Eric Nathaniel Lewis energy. Some of us don't know ourselves yet until we start to, become. So as that word is E to U or NAL, we turn all things. So as a L, as a teacher, as a facilitator, we become humble enough even to call ourselves Bey, to be also the student. And most people say a teacher can't become a student, or a student can't become a teacher. And I beg to differ, we do. Um, and this is why I even had that Mr. being tough, like Tahuti, seeing two. So 3-8, the day of and a month of, which makes me an 11, helps me realize 3 times 8 is 24, or 3 plus 8 is 11. So whenever we hear master numbers and how we master ourselves, it get us more in tune with how you're confident of who you are and how you become. So this became a point of how we become present. So as to say, deactivating the chip, these are the certain things that we have to do for ourselves. Recognize that we're not 9 months yet the whole year. If we put ourselves in the 9 month concept, we're also playing a victimization of the Roman rules that we put ourselves into. And when we say Roman, that means how we roam ourselves like the phone does, how we have romance and don't call it what it is, how we call love, but love is not what it is in the first place. So you start to actually do this Romulus and Remus, be the she wolf and the dogma of our energy. And what I mean by dogma, most of our men don't realize that we're supposed to be MIN and not MEN. So you put MEN, you can put AMEN in front of that men and put an A in front of it, which makes it to be hidden and not reveal itself. So in time, we become secrets. And that's no longer connected to your sacred. You have a sacred energy that you're supposed to be still providing as a provision, not as a providing because you're a providing man. It's a provision. So to see your vision is through your ultra vision. And we have to come into our 7 aligned chakras, our sensi, what we call ourselves Shakti. So our stress to our stressors, our senses to with that 5 sense that we thought was just based on 4, fear, but it's based on 3, mother, father, and the child. Our sequence of how we see ourselves has to change from when we add the other 2 back into ourselves. So when we see 2, it's 2 like the year, and it's 2 like the 8 coming back into itself. That's what helps me align myself. We all got certain numbers like yourself that has those patterns that help you say, okay, that's how I need to know myself. Because if you're a 19-year, any of us in the 1900s, you're here for a representation of change. The 1 into the 9 makes a 19, but at the same time, it also makes a representation of a 1 because it's a 10. And so 0 and 1 and 1 and 0 makes it why the concept of breaking the Willie Lynch chips, finding out what is 0 and 1 and what does it mean to you. If it has no meaning, then it has no value. And if it has no value, then it also has no meaning. So to flip that in reverse is also to say man is known as a verb, as woman would be known as a verb. So if man is known as a verb and woman is known as a verb, then it's just a form of not being a noun. Now, of course, you might say I'm wrong about this, but the word min is an actual verb concept. But yet, because it's a verb concept, it over precedes the idea of a noun in the first place. See, when we say men, min, it represents time, which is an action. So now it could be a verb. Um, a lot of the things that we put to nouns is our action. So just like eternal, it's a form of an action. You know what I'm saying? So we all have a way to pronounce to ourselves, remind ourselves the echo, because we technology ourselves. Tech knowledge is to know your knowledge in tech. So your intellect is that. You have to still give yourself some confirmational conversations. If not, your proverb no longer is a verb or action, and now your act is really what you're acting about. People act a lot in life, and it's sad to say that we're more of an actor than in the action of ourselves. I had to see that in this movie I just watched yesterday. It was something about you win a lottery ticket. Oh no, no, no. You can scratch the lottery. Oh no, put your fingerprint. That was the deepest part. You put your fingerprint on it to get into the lottery, and now you're a victim to getting killed in 24 hours, which is six, and the two into the fourth. And because this is so deep that it's not 24 hours, basically it's 23 and some change. But however, you know how we look at time is different. So as they're doing this, there's a man who pretends to be men, M-I-N, and now helps this sister as like what we know as the Minute Man, who becomes a soldier because he says he's a mercenary, and he helps her out throughout the whole system of what she has to go through. Now, of course, he says he wants 10%. And the ironic thing is, this 10% is the change in life. As we give 10% to pay our tithes. That's why the tide or tied to a wave is the tidal wave. And now we see why we're waving in certain things back and forth. So as it's proceeding, first you didn't trust him. The word is trust. And that's a major word for us between our women and to our children. You know, can our children trust us? Can we trust our children? And vice versa, woman, man, and all those other things. It got to a point where someone else had to be coming in to do the rescue. Yet at the same time, these people were more corrupted than anybody. And it was through their senses they had to figure this out. Once they did, it got to a point where she was like, even in that trust, before they even start trusting these people differently, she trusted that they give this brother who was helping her an extra portion versus the portion they said that he was going to have, which was nothing, which was zero. This is what I mean by value. And so she was like, no, he's going to get half and half of what y'all get. And then they was like, he'll get 30% of what we're getting. And she was like, you're good with that? He was like, yeah, I'm good. So they was like, okay, cool. And so throughout that, she didn't know, because see, we ransom ourselves like a birth certificate, not know. So we ransom ourselves on what my brethren was saying, our what we call it, the intellectual property. We ransom our intellectual property off to a point where you'll find out that that's the reason why, or it can't happen in your favor, because you're ransoming yourself and you don't know it as an agent. They become and be in part of your trust, you know what I'm saying, and take your trust, your interest away from you. And so now there's a currency flow of what we're doing when we're using other people and other people are using us. And we don't know if we're a part of usury, because that's what the word is, usury bonds. We're always doing these things that's mental, physical, and spiritual to our body. So if we're into the head, into the heart, and into the hips, we can deactivate this chip to a point where certain other ones that's gonna figure out how to deactivate it as well, and then you'll be able to get around them because these windows are open, but they also close at a certain period of time. So it's not saying that my window will be open by the time you come and get in there, yet it'll be open enough that someone else saw it and then they gravitate to the next thing to put as I added, they add on after. This is what makes us call it building. A lot of us know how to build with each other. And when you know those type of people, that's really your origin of your people. So reason why I got all into that is because of this book right here. Um, El-Bey represented. Also Ducateers, Asir Ducateers. Check them out on YouTube. This is the origin and evolution of primitive man. Now, if you look at this book, go into it, I wouldn't say stay deep in it. Peace. Oh, you feeling? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I like
Okay. You did that one too. Yeah. The primitive man and evolution of primitive. The origin and evolution of primitive man is giving you the pygmies, which we don't really want to call them that. We call them Twas. The Twa people, basically, they're known as Bes, BES. And if you look at our smallest of the generation growing up, this is where you get the word Ptah from. And then you hear this word Sekhmet. You're always getting Sekhmet and Ptah together. Now, what's going on in today's society? They cut Sekhmet out of the conversation. So now all you hear is Ptah or Imhotep. So that's why we really do get half of the conversation and we think we got the whole conversation. You're getting a part of the top, but it had a bottom to come from to get to the top before it went back down to the bottom again. So what we're seeing in our life is a devolution versus an evolution. So what we have to do is go back more further than we thought we were supposed to stop at. Like where we stopped at was in where the 60s got their information. And because we did that and said, okay, they got the information, that's good. All we got to do now is just sit back and relax. No, that's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to see it, the information for what it is, right? Take that from the scholarly point, and then you find your divine point. As my brother was breaking down to me yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. No, 2 days ago. We was giving out the acknowledgement of Marcus Garvey, but we also have to give the acknowledgement of both Amy Garvey on both ends that came and helped assist him to get him through that time portal, because that was a long time portal that he was, in a fight. And it's an bringing concept. Yet at the same time, it was a fight amongst a lot of other fights because really, it was a lot of aggressiveness going on at that time. A lot of energy was, and I can't say I was there. It's just that when you see it from the 1920s, like this brother here, I know him. If you don't know him, then you don't know anything about the rosters. Because if you hear anything about anybody want to be connecting to the rosters, they were bringing, and they even put the letter HI.M. So if you know him, that's Haile Selassie. So this is what we see from our connection. How do we see our highest realm? And it started in the 1970s, but it started in the 1800s. 1800s right here. You see this? There's an empress right here in there as well. So when we think about Menelik, when we think about Empress Menen, the brother I just showed you on the front was Haile Selassie. If you think about even Melchizedek, this is Menelik II. So when you look at any of these ancestors, that's because they're no longer present now. But when you look at how the realm of achievement went down, we were not in the constellation of what they say we are unless you go into the map and see where all of this is coming at, and all of this makes sense or don't make sense at. You know what I'm saying? So it's because we haven't really put too much study on France, the Europe, because the Europe connection between us and Spain is what we see, why we call this here. This is the real Jack ID, the real ID of Jack, the theft of the black identity as the chosen people of what we call God. And that's by Nasir Makar Hakim. This book here is by Jason Adiba Alimu, and that's the first. And then you have this book that I just showing you earlier by Albert Churchward. This book is definitely good to gravitate. I would just say this, even when you gravitate to this, because this is still coming in scholarly of the 1960s, put your Olmec side. I put back here, right here, Olmec. Now, what's going on with the Olmec is that you're getting a new generation coming out of the old generation. And if we don't start paying attention to it, that too will get wiped out. What's going on is they have the head, and they'll have within the head your glyphs happening. And what I did was I emphasized what I saw in the face. And of course, most of these people that know this looked like the face of George Floyd. So the jaguar and the ape concept also saw something like a octopus going on, and the monkey step from like versions of switching up to the bodies, faces from the bird to the animal, with the nose. So all of this still come out of the Olmec head. If you start to look at pieces where the Olmec starts at, we'll start to find out our X. That's why X Clan, X Man, Jaguar, my brethren who was breaking it down, as the Earth Speaks, he was also doing Earth of Atlanteans. All of that was a strong concept to the breakdown of how your North and South Americans, and I feel, he's really on that concept too, because when he start breaking up the King of Kings, this in this, of course, you find out the King of Kings that a lot of people were speaking of, like Haile Selassie, the connection of how the tri-city states, tri-state countries were put together, made it a format of Trinity. Now, of course, as the King of Kings, there was the Holy of Holies. So you have a breakdown of alive and relic conversations, just like as my flutes were different, pulsations that you can hear changes the frequency, as this also explains origin. So when you're knowing ourselves, we're going back to what I was saying about the Twas. The Twas are the smaller versions of us. And if you saw Haile Selassie, he was not a tall man. He had a big horn, and he basically had a big way of himself around in a connection. But when you look at the Olmecs, you also see giants, like a giant in the face. So even with origin to the nose, and as far as the ears are concerned, the lips, they made a different way in the patterns. So in that, it helped the concept of when you're looking at, Shiva. I gave it more of a connection here. Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu, they became the Trinity. And in the Trinity of what we know as far as the feminine energy. So we had triple carbon, as far as the feminine energy. So it's like now when we see masculine, there's different ways that we're seeing the approach of it. And it makes sense to what we're seeing now, because it's like from our women, we have men who, want to balance themselves. And when we find out that, we get into the year of the dragon. As the year of the dragon, we're dealing with, you know, it might have been complex energy, um, which we were into the beginning of that, uh, which, you know, which is kind of weird when I said, you know, we're not in the 9 months, we're in the year, right? When we go from June to July, that's the switch up actually. And a lot of us don't know. So we already went through the dragon already, for those who didn't know. And now we actually into the actual serpent or the snake. We're already in the year of the snake. So now all of the things that come out of in a snake mentality, from the ground coming back up. So this is explaining your Eastern side of astrology. I didn't know this stuff because, like, when I got married, I start off with the thought of I have a son who's a Cancer, and that was in June. So I wasn't really paying attention to that. But when you think of what comes out in June to July or to August, is this cotton. June, July to August, you get this cotton. So there become a lot of cotton picking. A lot of the things that, you know, what I end up going to was Nat Turner's trail, and I found the cotton. So now I'm learning more about how the cotton was what they picked. They end up putting, you know, through your fabric that you're wearing, end up being cotton fabric. So it was about learning your nature and how you was able to nurture with it. Um, and
Now,
this is
real quick,
also
quick pause, quick pause. Now to go back, part and so this is eternal El-Bey. All right. And I need y'all to understand that when he take off, he gonna take off. Like he not gonna give you no warning that he's going in, he's going in. So to get back to the Willie Lynch show, what made you, what sparked that topic within yourself to bring it
well,
forth
that's what I was getting
now?
into. See,
Okay.
when I grabbed the cotton, it helped me realize Nat Turner. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of process between 1800s was the Nat Turner thing. So when we look at Nat Turner, it starts from how the seed that you'll feel in here to the even the, you know, there's supposed to have been the prickly things that they had to break down to get this out and put this in a bag, and it's very light. So you know they had to actually get pounds of this to you know get their way in. So I'm not saying that we had to be living as slaves, but what I am saying is there was an indentured servitude, and when you're finding out between the two of what we're learning is deactivating the Willie Lynch chip, because not all of us were created in that mindset that we all got some chain put on us and we're all stuck in something. There is a way that we have an invisible chain put on us and we didn't pay attention to that. So as we're looking at it, look at the movie Will Smith. He's not playing himself because he's trying to give us an explanation. It's coming from, well, he's not trying, he's actually doing it. He's giving an explanation that is Haiti that was coming through as the emancipated. Now, if you look at the word emancipated, the word isn't what you think. Emancipated means to be hired. So this came from another brother out there, minister information with Crumb TV, um, Chef Ponder. He's great with, you know, the breakdown and the lineage, even also here in Virginia. So it helped align certain things from the Nate Parker Birth of a Nation, that when Birth of a Nation came out, that movie was about Nat Turner, but it wasn't. It was also about a movie that was done from the 1800s going into the 1900s. They want to keep us in a, like, run into a box. And so you start to box yourself up, right? Because when we had boxers, they were actually pugilists. And you look that up, it's not obtained to saying just boxers. So we went from pugilist, the heavyweight fighter, to then boxer. So there's a lot of how we got caught out of this and what we call birth of a new nation, basically. And that's to play us into the trick. The blackface in Birth of a Nation, when you see Cherry, that's Nat Turner's wife, soon to be at that time. He's looking at her and she has black on the face. So they're already giving you a way to demoralize the woman if you can see what you're looking at. This is the breakdown from your zero to your one. See, you're the one. As man, you're the one. We can see that. However, if you don't know how you became one, you're already a part of this other system that's bringing us back down to the zero, knowing me, myself, but not knowing what I can do, my capability. You know what I'm saying? So to deactivate the Willie Lynch chip, you have to be more of those who are acceptive of what you do and your value. They start to value you. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear an echo, but when the echo hits and it hits something like the wall, you value it more. And I know why you value it more, because you like, oh shoot, that jank sounded great. Let me see if I can do it again and make it sound just as strong and powerful. You know, we might say hello, and then be like, hello, coming back. You know what I mean? You'd be like, oh shoot. But now you want to sing it, you know. So this changes your noise from a deaf tone, right? To the ability to being able to volume your tone or your tune. So as we tune ourselves up, as he was doing, he was, you know, grabbing this actually is natural. And when you touch something so natural, it starts to align you. A lot of us don't have this for an alignment. So we have to get reminders, get back in nature. And you know, like I said, what today was, even today, yesterday, all these todays that we call it, find out what you can naturally do to yourself to keep you grounded. As you saw, I used all those, I call it tools. Some might be called weapons and others might call it a toy. Yet it's the explanation in nature that we all can be in tune with. You know what I'm saying? Some, believe it or not, are not in tune with, and you'll find out. They'll be like, turn that off or get away from me. I can't stand that. You know, so it's not fit for everybody. However, you'll find out in nature you're more in tune with that. And the same thing with the drawings. You know, I started picking up my drawings and I started to see how further that, you know, because I end up getting hurt in my time frame just like anybody else. But you're gonna want to go back in time and do something that's gonna, you know, stick out to you. You know what I'm saying? Make it a somebody you know and put it out there. Uh, and you'll find out once you start doing that, it'll start to encourage you to start doing other things. You know, and this one it says heal our children, and I got the sister hitting the drum. And my whole theory is about hitting the drum and not, you know, our children. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been at a point where we've been butt broken from a lot of the situations and we don't even realize it. So when we say, I want to make my child strong, and you beat up on your child, you're just gonna make your child want to fight you at the end, you know, and it don't even have to be a fight. They might just take a gun and shoot you. And I'm just saying, I wouldn't want that to happen to you. I would rather you come up with a better solution. We call it positive reinforcement. If you know how to positive reinforce your child, work out with your child, do art with your child, you know what I mean, and express them to put it on the canvas versus, you know, on you. Express it hitting the punching bag, get them to punch the bag, but show them how the right way to use their hands versus they break their wrists. And if you don't know, get it to someone who do. You know what I mean? There's other ways to relieve the energy if you do like a beginning day exercise work. They got already built up energy. So now you just got to figure out how to work with that built up energy so it won't be like you got to be tunkered out. You got to be worn down by them. Shoot, I take my child to almost every park. You ask him, he'll tell you. And my child's 22 right now. So he'll tell you, be like, yep, he took me to Barrage Parks, Shoot Park, Lindenwood Park, and all them parks in the one day. And I would be like riding on the bike with him. So it's not a point about saying you got to have the money to do things. You just got to get fundamental with your child so it can be done. And that's how you break that chip. The chip is the chip on your shoulder. And I know some of us got it because I see it. It'd be like another person hating another person. You'd be like, why they got a chip on their shoulder? Go ahead, calm down. Your hours is not compared to mine. I get it. You did a lot of hours. I get it. Now you got a lot of money. I get it. But what's this crab in a barrel thing? Like you put not only us in the barrel, you make sure we stay in that barrel. The barrel is a cracker barrel. We got to break that crack thought. We're not cracker barrel people. So to bear the L is the only thing we need to do, not bear it like you took the clothes off of it, bear it like it needs to show itself. You know what I mean? So this is why the people put the beard on themselves. This is why they put the headpiece as, you know, a tarbush or a turban on a mental, because they know their mental has to be, you know, in a temporalization mode in order for some of us to see how we got to be accepted. If you don't see me from my head and my eyes and my whole body before I start to get in tune with stuff, it has to start right here in the beginning where my head is at. So a lot of us say we use our heart, you know, and it gets to a point where if your heart get hurt so much, that's why we had to create, you know, the actual helmet on the head. So this is why you saw, you know, the idea that the Olmecan head, that was a piece that was put on the head like a helmet, like on X-Men when you think of Magneto, or the Sentinels that's in that same, you know, indication. Or if you want to go to even, you know, our Oriental style, which we don't really say Oriental because that's a misnomer, but Asiatic style, you see how the hats that had the longer brims. When we see this format, we're seeing how, and give thanks to Crumb TV, with the hat became the Haitian hat. So this is why that's also a breakdown in the Emancipation movie. Look at who's wearing the hats in there. When we call a hat on top of a head, that's like the hood or the het. So we're thinking like Tahuti. So we're thinking one who's the teacher, one who's the facilitator, or it could be in a Masonic conversation, one who's wearing the masonry. So now we got a cat in the hat, or the top hat type cat, the derby hat. You know, all of these are the breakdowns of how the one who's wearing the hat to a point where this was there, but now it went down to that. You know what I mean? So whereas the flat top, the round derby, Kirby concept, you know, the bowling hat, then the cap, and then the brim. So the brim, so the sombrero, you know what I mean? And then it's flopped up. You know, those are all the where it's getting down to the levels of how men, M-I-N, became M-E-N, and then M-A-N. So when I put it into one concept, I put it into one way or one being, I take the hat off, and now the man is existing. So now this is how we, you know, been ranked as men. Uh, and for those who don't know, we're still waking up to it. And I know it takes some time. So even for me, I had to look back. I'm at 49 with this, but I'm now 7 of the 7 tapping in. So it makes sense to where I'm going to see it at. It's going to be from different perceptions to say, okay, now that's alignment. That's the shadow. That's behind me. That's this. That's that. Because when we start see if we're putting our foot on the ground and the light is on and we see no shadow, yes, there's a shadow. It's just under your foot. You just ain't paying attention. So your perceptions to how do you really see attention? How are you attentive to all dimensions that can be there, even though we don't see the dimension? Can you still accept that? You know what I'm saying? And there's this point that I'm really breaking reference to, 0 and the 1. You have to look at how are you deactivating it by knowing the 0 first before 1. Don't keep doing what these people are doing right now. They're messing your mind up, got you thinking, and it's sad that we did that, to make it a gender factor, man against woman. And we've been doing that since, you know, like I said, before I even knew it. I'm looking at my dad going through it still as he's, you know, about to end the moment. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know whether he's at where he's gonna go in grace or he's gonna go in hardship because of that. And this makes sense to me too, because I started looking at other men like I gotta see this now because I gotta go in that realm too where he's at right now. And even while he's almost in a transition of coming or going, I can still see other people foolishly acting up. And I'm like, should I be paying attention to this while I'm still going through seeing how he's getting ready to go through a transition? So it takes you to what we call the asar level. Like you're here, but you're not here. You know what I mean? Because you see something really, really important happening while some foolishness is in front of you. And you'd be like, should I pay to the foolishness or just, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just don't put too much into it. You know what I mean? So when we see that we're acting up and we thinking my world, have you ever thought about men's world, like all the men that's around you versus just you as the only man existing with your chip on your shoulder, walking around that if someone step on your foot, you'll shoot them? Are you, is that how you thinking? Because you know, there's a lot of people that come out of that mercenary mentality, like I said, with the protection, is getting to a point where you're seeing people want to end up purging over other people. And I'm like, wait, where's the men at? And I'm not talking about these men that's here. I'm talking about the MIN, the ones who protect for real, for real. Not the ones that saying they provide. They know provision before the protection even had to start. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know where it's coming at. We know where it's getting to. So now let's be preventive measurements so it won't have to ever happen. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're the one that's saying it's going to happen, then you're the one that's increasing it's happening. You know what I'm saying? But if you're the one that's saying, hey, let's decrease before it get, you know, you ever seen a car go like, and it's getting closer and everybody, and they put the panic on, then they're getting real close to, and then it's, like, oh, I'm just glad it stopped right there. Whew. That, I'd rather be one of them versus the one to be like, yo, it's coming, it's going, bam. See, I told you. Come on, don't be them people. Don't be those people. We already got enough of them. You know what I'm saying? We got enough. That's where you deactivate the chip. Don't help the progress of what's going on in that level, because that's not progression for us. That's actually degression. Degression. That's degression put in our face. And I'm riding a bike. So if you have a bike, start getting one. Put water on it too as well. Don't just think, oh, I'm riding a bike. Nope, that's not it either. Put some water on the bike. Don't just put one bottle, 1 gallon. Do 2 gallons. Get equal. And then if you know, really good, put 3, but put one in the middle, of course. Now, why am I asking you to do that? It's only so you can challenge yourself. It's only for that. And if you don't do these purposes, our body starts to decrease. You know what I'm saying? You ever run for a bus and you never ran for the bus? You had been riding in your car all the time. So now here you got to run for the bus and it's a block away. The bus actually was on time. You was late. So by the time you got to the bus stop, you not where you're supposed to be at, bus stop traveling, you will catch it. You're going to do whatever it takes to catch it before it gets to the next stop. So, hey, this is where your ability kicks in. This is where you say, oh, I got this preserved. Some of us don't preserve the energy. So this is why we're like comfortable. And I guess we're doing whatever we're doing. And it's a gravity thing. So the chip, knock that chip off, start activating, getting to who are activating their body. You know what I'm saying? And mannerism, please. Because mannerism, that's what got us far. You'll see a lot of people get in many places. And I know you might call it kissing, but I don't think so. The other word is called humble. Are you humble at anything? Or do anything make you humble? Like if I'm in somebody's foundation, that makes me humble. If they actually don't mind me cutting grass, I will cut grass. I don't, because I like doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, and it humbles me. So it makes me feel I can do something without nobody getting on me for it. And when have you ever been in a place where you're able to do that? And if you have, was it because you had to work there? So if you had to work, then that's not really you wanted to do it. You see what I'm saying? So there got to be a principle of you being able to be alive for yourself. Do the things that make you functionable as you start to add more to your function. Like I said, get on the bike, do a little bit of bike exercise. Why am I saying that? Because it's helping out your core. Anytime you're doing this with your legs, you're helping out your core. And a lot of us don't help our core out while we're every day doing other cycles, not using that for a cycle. This is based on 24 hours. This is based on 11 hours. Sometimes you work 11 hours, you didn't even realize it. So you're saying, whew, I'm tired, I'm ready to go lay down. Yet you didn't cycle nothing. So as a child, it's the same thing. You get it bottled up and you want to release it. The other thing is a quick note for my younger generation, because I see them doing it, is they're already activating the purge mentality. They're hitting each other in the part as if it's love taps. And that's not love taps. It's gonna be, abuse after a while. And you can see where it's coming from because they're able to hit like I used to. The masculine and the feminine, we had no problem with hitting each other. Whether the boy hitting the girl hitting the boy, we had no problem hitting each other because it was not at a point where we're hitting the hurt on that intent, at least for that moment. But they're in the part now, hitting, tagging, and feel like that's the friendly thing to do. And it's friskiness in them. Yet it leads to now a point where they're actually getting rough on. So they call it roughhousing. In the central part, they call it wilding. And that's how we got back into how they said that our children are, wild. So if we could get them more into some fundamental things versus I don't have nothing else to do but tag my friend, this is where we can actually break off again the Willie Lynch chip because there's a lot of where it needs to be broken at, in your household. For those who don't watch their children, they do go into the field, right? And they do get around their friendly friends and they do like the tag smack. Next thing you know, they might be hitting on the leg, then they might be hitting higher on the leg, and then you're like, oh, there it is. So they got these love tag taps that they start doing because they feel like they can. It can sting the person or they can make them feel affectionate. But see, this is what we don't realize about our people and how much that we didn't really touch that much like that unless we were more in a connection to each other. This here is a different way of looking at it. So our approaches is really on a free friskiness. And if you could really like advertise to your child, we don't play that. You know what I'm saying? Like that is cut. No, no. If you my peoples, we ain't gotta do that at all. You know what I'm saying? So, and then there's ways to use them in the jungle gym and how we use it. When we're flipping things that as far as on a higher level, when we're grabbing or holding on to each other, is because we're able to flip another person. That's where we got that from. Like we'll have another person flip right off the hand, tip the toe, tip flip with no hands. You know what I'm saying? A backflip. That jam was easy, but it was trust amongst each other in that format. It's kind of changed now where it's not in that level. It's more like I gotta tap you and hit you, and now I'm tired because I've been running around, but I'm getting beat up at the same time. And then I brought it up to another adult in my peers, I should say, of my age, and they were like, "Is that some form of an initiative to a gang?" I said, well, that's how it usually starts like that. So you might not know that your child might be involved in that, the friendship. So making it a friendship thing, remind yourself what love looks like. Because if this is wrong and you're getting beat or punished, that's not love. That's not the love you should be having. And we didn't even call it love anyway. We call it merge that energy that we connect to make us have what we call sensual connection, not even sexual connection. So those who are even intimate, when you use it for the dominatrix, be more in tune with how you're utilizing it because yes, some like it in that way, and then there's some that has been traumatized by it. So that's why some of them even use it to, make themselves feel stronger within that realm that they're not used to at all because it probably was dominating beforehand. Now they get the idea of utilizing it in their interest. So if you're not into it, talk to your partner. Hey, that's yellow. I'm not into that. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll find out there too. The Willie Lynch chip has to be broken in a lot of ways. Even for the relationship, some people don't like the tossed salads. And some of us will try to put it on another person to do it and be like, hey, wait, whoa, hey, what's this? You know what I'm saying? If you don't explaining these things, it makes it more of an uncomfortable thing. Then also traumatizing them because they probably still have some shadow work to do. And that's major. Willie Lynch chip breaking is for you finding out your shadow. What's the shadow? What's under your foot? Are you able to accept what happened to you in the past? Can you move on from it after you clear it out? You know what I'm saying? Once you clear it out, this ability should bring in I'm not saying it's going to. I said it should bring in your childlike ability. The pictures I showed you was because I actually, you know, reactivated myself in that way. I'm only telling you what I went through because I went through it, and it made sense to me of how, you know, you got a chance to actually give yourself not just growth, a change in your growth. Because when we say we grow, we don't know it's grow with the S, you know, grow, then grows, growth, you know what I'm saying? And then there's grew, you know, and then there's grown. Because how you grown into it is another thing. So now when you grow out of it, it makes sense to the levels of growth. You know what I mean? There's stages. So it's not saying I grow into it and that's it. You got to figure out how to actually make this work for you in your best interest. Whatever you can't work with, it's just like finding out that your scissors can't work, you know, cutting a rock. So now how do you cut a rock? You need something maybe sharper and with heat, like, you know, a heated saw. You know what I'm saying? You'll figure out how to work these things to a point where you're like, ah, now it makes sense. So this is the other part to you are able to enhance yourself in the present. Being a present is the word present. So when you're able to present yourself, you're able to present yourself an ability. You know what I mean? And because I'm like what they call out of your cards. I found it was deuce of spade. I'm able to actually see your masculine, your feminine, and combine the two. So when the conversation come out that way, some of it happens to come out of the creative side, while the flat, you know, the ways of we in reality put out certain things on a logical realm, yet we need more input. So the creative side actually helps that side to put the combination together. So just like saying this picture here, I gave us a conversation in this picture. Now, what you see in the picture is a brother, you know, kind of like myself. He's standing on the peak, which is your highest peak, but it's also within a center. So within your center, you create a peak. And so to explain to peak as above, so below, we have what we call a 120. Every triangle is based on a 120. However, you get 120 and then you get 220 and 360 out of your three, but then you get a 450 when you actually, you know, uh, connect to, was it 450? Yeah, a four. What am I saying? Not 450, a 480 when you connect to your other 120. So you're going, you know, 480, which is your one, two, three, fours of your 120. That's not just 360. 360 is just a flat form. But when you're making a triangle that becomes a cone, it actually has something you can touch. It has a backside to it. It has another point of reference. That's the center as it stands at its highest peak within the 360. So that explains it being in a triangle and having a center and ability. That's why the wings are more expansive versus just saying a 360 flat frame. We coming out of the 360 and creating our 480. And that's based on your 360, 450, 720. Most of our degrees are based by threes. So when we see in dimensions, it changes things. And what I mean by that is you have a square, the triangle, and a circle, which could be an oval. And that's why we don't think about it. And it changes those dimensions into a what we call a seventh dimension in this fourth dimension frame. So Cancer, which is 4, Leo, which is 5, Virgo, which is 6, and then there's Libra, which is 7. Now, the interesting thing about Libra is the 7 happens to be an L upside down. So they call this the easy line. And when you're into the easy line, the being of the raw is how the I is in between. So the I actually is the centering point. So anything that's on a tetrahedron is a representation of a Libra scale or the scale itself or the scales on a fish. So we're seeing a lot. And I give thanks to Seven Bomar with his reality on it. KT, the arch degree, he gave us the easy line on how solid, liquid, gas gives you an easy line. So this is your representation of fire, earth. Well, no, my bad. This is fire over here, but this is water. This is earth, and then this is all three mixed. But when you look at fire, earth, air, and water, fire, earth, air, and rain, because that's water, it makes it fear, but it makes it fears when it's put together. So anything that's fears is your spirit. So when you say, "Oh, the spirit tells me da 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 da," you actually getting into your five being alive because you're four at the door or window, looking in and looking out, and not knowing how to be physical. Five. So that's spreading out your wings. You're five. And because we do have a grounding of ourselves, man can have five, but also applied six, which is the grounding in between. And that's why we think of peak like a beak, like a cone, you know, like men in my end. That's why the highest point to sensual was between where our groin is and to our belly button. So in between that energy, we did a lot of reflecting, a lot of sacral work. And so those that became priests, you know what I'm saying, started to do what most people start to call them kings concepts, which they were like pharaohs to the people or like farmers to the people because they knew how to give the agricultural side to it, the homage side to it. And then, of course, because the homage was the representation of spiritual, they knew how to be royal and then regal out of that. Because, you know, royal and regal are two different words. You have royal blood, but now because you're not thinking regal, this what causes the Willie Lynch chip to activate. We don't know how to deactivate it because you're following someone else's path that ain't yours. You have to actually get into your own path. You have to actually, like how I just showed you, that's the pata energy. You're able to see an eight, a new change in yourself, just like I'm changing myself. And I'm not saying you got to change yourself. I'm just saying if you want to see something different, because change don't always make sense, especially if it's a dollar. That's the sense to be like, let me get my change back. This ain't what I can't get more money. Change is different. Your change has to come with growth. And once you see that development, this is even with relationships. That's why you'll find out that most of us won't last long if the relationship doesn't have any room for growth. And you want to see it change, you know what I'm saying? But there's no growth in it, then that's what's not going to change. You know what I mean? And that's better to stay out of the growing process so that you see how it grows without self-applied uh, you know, friction, because you can create friction just as much as you create affliction. Pain is hurt. So correcting the hurt to hurts, HERTZ. If you get hurts in it, like I just played the flute and things of that nature, I had to find out through my seed plan that for my seed has us on a higher connection now. So whenever we have an interaction, I pull it back out and we play. You know what I'm saying? And there's that other form of communication. As the pygmies, or what I'm gonna call them, the twas or semi-twa, we learn yuga, and yuga was your yoke inside. So just like that, we found out how yuga. So it's like you're able to stretch, you're able to dance, you're able to express music without having saying any words. So as the music comes out of the flute, just like your hands are expressive to what you're saying. Just like in court, they'll make sure you're not able to do all of this. They'll say, put your hand, you know what I'm saying? So the expression to hands were the point of why some people would say that's magic that you're doing. And this is the same aspect to the musician. The musician actually has a feeling that's great, or maybe not. It could be dark, you know what I'm saying? It just depends on what kind of darkness and what kind of fulfillment that he wants to put out there is his intention. Yet this is what we call the gray matter. And a lot of us deal with gray matter energy. And I thank y'all for even having me up here so I could explain that what gray matter is between the black and the white. Some of us are full of saying I'm pure, while the other one's saying I'm full of doing some malice on you. You know what I'm saying? And we're not seeing the difference. And if you can really get more humble with yourself, you find out how you don't even have to get mad at someone saying the word Negro to you, because that's not even a word we use. You know what I'm saying? However, if it's that word that they're using, you can still break it down to them that, because there's also what we call Negrophobia, you know what I'm saying, or Negrotude. And then there's also white phobia. But the white phobia isn't in the aspect to say that that's a noble thing. So now we got to break down the word white and black so that they won't utilize us in a box. See, the whole idea is to get this box on you like a crab in a barrel. I got to put you in cancer. I got to put you in the COVID. I got to put you in fear, fire, earth, air, rain. The first four aspects before you can get into 5, 6, 7. I got to stop you from where before you even get started. So the whole idea of calling you a noun, person, place, or thing, the thing is no thing, one thing, anything. So the idea is to make you say that you're subjective to your objective self. And so if you think yourself is small, you'll downsize in your relationship, you downsize for whoever, and you don't realize how tall, how giant as the Tatar or, Goliath or, Gilgamesh, however you want to look at it. Because when this fight of David was a 6-pointed star, this was a 6-pointed star learning his highest ability in the giant form, shooting slinging a rock in the eye is a concept. Third eye, first eye, not knowing why. Why is a chromosome? So when you go through the cross, not this anymore, went to this zone. So now that we see this, even in the Logan movie, they're showing you we changing it to here now because we're into that now. You see the black sun. The black sun now is into the existence. If you look at March, I think it was like end of March before April came in. Because I know it was April 8th, but they actually had a white buffalo. They were showing us this is the albino seasonal ending, starting the beginning of the dragon. You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of, you didn't see how we flipping things from this is the sun to now this is the sun, and it made sense to when you saw it move from April 8th, it was still up till May 8th. And I put it on Facebook. You can go up there. I think it's on Facebook. If not, I'll put it on TikTok later. But it shows a black dot right where the sun is, a black dot right in the center of it. And no matter how I moved the phone in the video that I had, it was still there. And that black dot is still like the representation of what we know we're in right now. And this is an alignment. So a lot of us have tapped in different type of alignments without knowing what's in favor. Like I said, some of us know about Enoch and how Enoch left with his body versus, his spirit, and his body had to stay on the body of the earth. This is a whole realm of different dimensional conversations we're having. And there's stuff that your grandma didn't even have that conversation. I'm saying? So, and if you brought up the pygmy, she'd be like, who? And then be like, well, they the semi-Tawis, and she'd really be more confused. Who? So and then if she even is the size, because it dealt with getting this book right here.
Before you continue, let me jump in. Before you continue, can you please share, G? Can you please share to any and everybody that you can share to, and just take a small little break and just share, and then continue. Rock out, rock out.
Okay. Wait. Share what? Share the information, or share
Yeah. As
the.
far as will it allow you on your side to share it out to people, like as you're
Oh
doing this
yeah.
right now?
See, that's the thing. I only see it says leave on this joint.
Okay, so
So if I go out, I'm gone. I won't be able to come back
okay,
till tomorrow.
okay. So say no more. All right, go ahead and rock out. I'm sharing it out. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. This book, The Origin and Evolution of Primitive Man. Like I said, Eileen brought it up. I see the Tears brought it up. You might find it on Amazon. It might be even higher now though, because it's been mentioned a couple of times. It used to be $12.95. I don't know how much it is up there, but you might find it used. So it's a reasonable price. When you find out getting books that's on a smaller level, even though you're thinking, I don't need it because what I need references for, it'll help you in the long run. So when your children start to say, well, what was different about the 1960s? Well, I feel like in this book, he wanted to talk about Africa, but we further than Africa. So uh, this would be like saying getting half of the information. And now since you got to revise of knowing America, you can tap this into that. So it will be it's David Hotep. He actually is another author who wrote about the Olmecs. If you get any of the Olmec books, like Ivan Van Sertima has with other information, just like I was saying, David Hotep, is just the fact that they're wanting to say Africa first. If we could see it from here, would make sense. We wouldn't feel so much lesser of ourselves. The zero before the one. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's a lot of our scholars who went in a scholarly way. It just kind of made it to a now more point of saying we want to be proud of something, but then you'd be like, wait a minute, don't be proud of that yet, because that's putting you back in. You'd be like, yeah, we're proud of me. And you'd be like, oh, you went back in, and it's too late. I'm like, dang, well, I have to wait till y'all get back out, and then I'll wait till y'all make this start to make sense to you too. Because just like when we were thinking about Black Power, I know a lot of us was like into that, man. I mean, we were going in Black Power, but then someone was like, yo, what's the word black to you? And then we start breaking it down. And he said, did you know in the scientific word it means death and it means this? And it was like, oh shoot. So then it was like Black Power. But then it was like, can you use the origin of the word Sutek? You know what I'm saying? And we're still looking at there's this that makes sense, and then there's that we can still, we can still revise some things. You know what I mean? Like, why do we have the flag? And why was it a flag anyway? Isn't it a banner? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that in our conversation piece, we really got to break that down so that it makes sense to all of us. So that when it's worldwide, it's not to say I'm confused when, because just like, let's say an African, you call him an African, but he ain't going to say I'm African. He's going to say I'm Ethiopian or I'm Somalian. You don't call me African. You know what I'm saying? You ain't going to generalize me like I'm grass. You know what I'm saying? So there's some of us that do that and be like, oh, you from Virginia. Oh, you from Norfolk. Oh, you from Virginia. You from Virginia Beach. So now it's like, do you really, knowing that it's called North Folk versus Norfolk? You know what I mean? And if you knew, like even with my brethren, Asir, he was like saying, if you thought about where North is not New York. North would be really here. Why do you think it's called Norfolk? And because it's north, it's not really north at all. It's the central. This is a central area. So in central location of which Norfolk was north, south, west, and east. So it's been split and cut into 4 different sections. And we don't see it because we're on it. We don't think of why we're in it. You know what I mean? It make everything be devalued here. The deactivation of the Willie Lynch chip is cutting down the knowing that you didn't know, so now you know better. You have more love for what's here. Why you think the water still high rise over here and not in them other places? They want this place to swamp out. They want it to not have the value like it used to have. And you really look at it, I was looking at the mudslides. You know how many mudslides we actually had, brother?
No, I'm not for certain of that.
Yeah, it was 3 different types, 3 different times of a mudslide. So basically, the land that we on is like wiped over 3 different times. So we wouldn't even think about it. But I had somebody doing some work in the plumbing underground near Collie and 21st, and I saw them digging, and they actually were further down than anywhere I ever seen. So I had to ask him. I said, "Yo, you ever heard about mudslide?" And he was like, "Nah." And I said, "You ever thought about the layer being under a layer, and you had to dig? And while you're digging, you're starting to rediscover some stuff like something else was here before." He was like, yeah. And I was like, wow, because I wanted to ask you, because you're one of the people that's working under the ground most of the days. You know how many times they tell us we can't even, dig under 6 feet? And if you do, you got to call somebody. So it's a point of saying we really don't know how deep the ground is or what's within it to make it a point where even if it was a mudslide, how will we even know? You know what I mean? And there's bridges that been up. There's buildings that's been up way before in our timeline. We just never looked at it past our mother and our father. Now, if we did, it would make a lot of sense to how we're looking at things. Because as my brother just broke it down, Mississippi, how about this one? Did you think Mississippi being the area of where the generation just like the Nile River started, this was basically Kemet?
Yeah. I mean, if you go on the basis of the map being upside down, right? On that
Absolutely.
kind of basis, yeah,
And
I'm
so now
listening.
you
I'm with you.
getting the north down there as it being the south that they would say, but that's the north going up. As it's going up, this would be more in the central area before we go further up, which would be south in the cold, like the cold climate. So everything would be cold and extreme, and the South Pole energy. You know what I'm saying? Why is the ice glaciers all in that area to block down something we can't see yet? Because there's still another side to it. We just can't be able to see it unless we go past it. So there's a lot of uncharted areas, a lot of more dimensions into where we're looking at. That's why it makes sense if Mississippi even have my brethren just showed it. He just showed an actual tombstone with the arms crossed. You know what I'm saying? Out of a Mississippi pyramid, a pyramid mound. And so there's mounds all over the place that we haven't counted on. There's rivers that what they say the spring water. We have more spring water over here than anywhere. So where our giants are, they're over here. There's a lot to see from our highest dimension of people that was moving stuff around to the smallest of our people that's still around. And this is where you see a lot of the wipeout. Because when you read that book that I just showed you, they tell you a lot about the wipeouts that they did with our primitive man. They took the small man and got rid of him. Either they got rid of him or he's in some kind of location we won't hardly see him at. And I see him in Norfolk. Some of them be popping up here and there. But they did it in what was it? X-Men, The Last Stand. I think that's what it was. The Last Stand. Where or was it Last Stand? It was one where Mystique was in it and she was playing as an assassin. And it was getting deep, bro. She was about to take out the president. I said, ain't this like a replay right now? Trump joint? Because it was like everything, even the dude that was in the background looked like Trump. I said, wow, they really I feel like this is all set up, just almost like it's a stage of a stage. But anyway, they had a short dude in there, and he was like the people. I had put that on Facebook too. That he was saying they're the Homo sapiens, and I said, oh shoot, he's telling his people. I said, wow, they really going in. So it's like you're seeing this is the time where if you didn't get the knowledge, they're giving their people the knowledge. If you're not seeing it, that's how bad it's getting. It's gotten that deep. It's gotten that deep that knowledge is in it. Like you guarantee you're gonna see some great knowledge in there. You just gotta have a focus for it. It's just like looking at a painting. That's why I was showing you about the Olmec. You're looking at a painting, but it has a story within the story. It's not what you think. It's going to be further than how you're thinking. And that's why there's global conversations, cosmic conversation, universal conversations over our heads, under our heads, as this, what they said, insect consciousness, animal consciousness. Then you think human consciousness. So that's already 3 levels right there of consciousness. And if you're not in tune with it, it makes you kind of like, well, I don't deal with the animals and I don't deal with the insects. So now you're more of a foreigner to the whole reality of these dimensions that we're saying don't exist. And this is why even those who wear the mask, same thing. I'm seeing more of our mothers. You want to protect yourself, but you're dumbing down or making an ignorance conscience towards yourself. So now is put this on your face and you can catch psoriasis over your mouth. You can get the bumps from the heat and the sweat glands because they can't, breathe out like they're supposed to. That's why it was sweating in the first place. It now needs moisture. So now you get bumps because that wasn't supposed to be happening in the first place. So it has to react from too much sweat being inside this mask that you put on your face. So there's a lot that if you're not paying attention, the respiratory system also gets shut down. And this is all because we don't lift our knees up and we don't eat our food. So get on that bike, cycle. You know what I'm saying? If you're a dancer, dance with your child. Don't get mad at them. Turn on some music that both y'all like. If the words are too gaudy, just use the beat. Don't use the words. And say, hey, if I hear you saying the words, I ain't feeling that. So we're going to change that too. Give them a proper way of looking at themselves so they're in a higher dimension whenever they're in that low dimension. And they won't have to actually say, oh, I'm going to go ahead and get low with this person. Nah, they're going to go so low, right, that they're going to go right in the middle. You'd be like, dang, how you do that? But he figured it out. It's just like one of those, I know you see the movies all the time. They'd be like, you saw him, he hurt you. Here, take this gun and shoot him. And he'd be looking at him, be like, take the gun and shoot him. Yeah, take the gun. And he grabbed the gun. He's pointing the gun at him. He's like, now shoot him. He's like, shoot, shoot her. And then he's like, nah, I ain't doing this. Or he might shoot the man because they're pressuring him so much. Or he might call him a name or something. And that's how you see that the gray matter is so powerful that it'll go off even on the negative energy. So don't become the negative energy towards your child. Don't be the one that's punishing your child, whipping your child, and thinking that's actually working. It's not working. It's actually making them rebel against you. And then they'll start to talk to you less and go to that gang over there that was beating them up over there because you beat them up. There ain't no problem with you beating them up at home and they can't go to nobody. So now I might as well go over here to this gang that's beating me up because I'm used to getting beat up. What we have to stop doing is making a toad out of our child. That frog conversation with the princess and the frog, that's what's been embedded in our brain, that you're not good enough to be a queen. You got to be a princess. And then this frog, you got to kiss a frog. You know what I'm saying? Like, kiss a frog. So it's like, kiss the middleman's part. You know what I mean? And we don't realize that what's being said. And we didn't pervert our mind in that mass. However, there's a mass that perverted the people to think this way. You know what I'm saying? So this will take you out of the Willie Lynch chip of why am I in it in the first place? Because there's certain things you're drilling into your child to do only to replicate it, only that it don't make sense in the first place, but you got them replicating it. Like the ballroom, the prom. And now you got them, it's okay to wear something sassy at the prom. Well, if you're wearing something sassy at the prom, these men are thinking, because they're not men yet, but they're getting to the men mentality of thinking they could take your daughter and now they're going to get what they want in that one night. This idea became a Baal, a Baal. So whenever you see the ball, Ball, that ballroom, they're putting you in with the highest realms that they could put in the room. And now they can do some kind of illuminating light because we all love music. However, if we don't know the music that we're drawn by, and your child is not with you, in the other room, that a lot can go on. Okay, now the P Diddy boppers, you can put some stuff in the drinks, and now something could go on there. She's not going to pay too much. She might have, anytime her guard goes down, it's a wrap. So from her not having her spray mace or whatever she needs for protection to, her first time drinking, these are things that we were not prepared for, that you have to start now implementing towards your child. Because why? When we start to get to graduation, what's going to happen? Same thing. They're going to be like, oh, I graduated. I'm an adult. No, you ain't done nothing adult yet. You just got out of here. It's a little degree you just got out of. So it's implementing thing to be implemented by the group in a society, and not know what social and societal things are happening in that. And you have to be mindful. They're putting movies out that's expressing sex change easily. They're actually having a woman with a beard on her face. So the Hatshepsut Soot is what we were reminded of when we saw the woman with a beard. But her expression was, I'm fighting against something that's against me. So I'm willing to fight even for y'all. This here that's happening now is not the same. That's like I'm just entertained by what I got on my face, and I'm still gonna do the basically the Roman thing the whole time. So they're actually not helping, not benefiting our children. So if you really more in tune with it, you want to do whatever it takes. Like if you got time to breathe, you got time to do some holy breathing. You got time to breathe, you got time to put some fundamental energy out there for our people to go to. You got time to play some music for our people to go to. I got some up here right now on YouTube. Check me out on Yoga Sounds, YOGA Sounds, SOUNDS, and it's ETURNAL, and that's ELBEY. I got like two. I got one called Comedic Sound, that's KEMTIC Sound, SOUND, and then I put Let's Dance, LETSDANCE. And those three tracks I put out, no words, just my music, and I wanted to at least do that. I've been waiting on my group to help me interact that, and it's all right. Whenever they pop up, they'll pop up. Right now, I've done it, so it can't be like, well, what you do in 5 years that you ain't do? Well, I've done something already. I'm still moving into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and since 2017, been out there with Empress Michelle. We've been making music on the stage, and that was powerful as far as the reggae festivals here in Chesapeake. Was it Chesapeake? Well, Norfolk, and Hampton. I know, yeah, and Virginia Beach. I know we did those, and so that was 2017, 2018, and around there, then I started saying, okay, well, I got to take this music up a notch. We did a video. She went to Mama Africa. She went to Afghana, and I had a track with her on that with some drumming I put in the background of that. So, and then there's Marissa, MARYSA, Ada, ADA, and she's doing the Afro beats. She's like the latest artist I've been with. She got a couple of tracks with me there, doing some stuff on her. One of them is Focus, FOCUS. And then there's some couple of other, songs that she do that's powerful. Then there's who else I got? I can't think of them right now, but Miss Mika, MSMEKA, which is Go, and we did a track in Conscious Planet. So I knew Marissa also did a track in Conscious Planet, and that's what we're doing. We're getting the young generation out to know what's the old generation's knowledge, yet applied with more, so that we have the revisional connection. Because we do have to have a divinational side to ourselves. We get the scholar side, yes, but it's not for us to stay stuck in scholarly, because these books can't obtain what you already know. You know what I'm saying? And so now when you apply that, add that with the connection, you see how it's more applicable versus saying, well, I'm just this book and that's all I know. You got to actually know how to come outside of being a plumber. You know what I mean? Like you might have to be a father. You know what I'm saying? You just can't be a plumber the whole life. So things that as an adept, just like Buddha, you learn how to use lemon and make lemonade. You know what I mean? Or use it for cleansing your copper. I'm a coppersmith, by the way. So if you got time, check me out Sunday and Monday. We do drumming at out Norfolk, Virginia, which is Tessanoka territory. Just to tell y'all, I know some of y'all don't know Tessanoka territory. That's an old school name. But yeah, Norfolk, Virginia, 2718 Grammy Street. We usually open from 12 to 8 on Monday, and on Sunday it's usually 12 to 7 because, of course, time frame. Most people be in and out. Gotta go. Yet at the same time, you see that the kitchen don't open till 1 because you know how us church people is. We get around. Gotta. All right, well, it's okay. We're gonna get y'all right. But yeah, we're gonna have drumming 3:33, 3:33 p.m. on Sunday. So if you have a drum, come through. If you don't, we got like a couple of them. So I would say first come, first serve on how we're gonna get that to you. We do pass it back and forth. So we're not all gonna stay on one drum. I like to use percussion so it helps see where our sound of unity comes from. Because what I found out is we want to say I'm from this clique or I'm from that clique. That's cool. Can you play together? If you can't play together, how you gonna have this war and all this other stuff together? Because if a war ever comes out, which I'm saying forbid it, who you gonna put on your side? Who you gonna know that's gonna rock with you? If you don't know anybody that can rock with you, you really what you warring for? You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's a lot to the pick me up of thought. Like, yo, you can't even have fun, let alone start something else, and if that's what you start, then that's basically what all you wanted. This is why we got to see that Shango, when he became a connection to Ogun, he still had to realize as Ogun, he ended up might be raping the world. So he got to be diligent enough to put the sword or the axe down. You know what I'm saying? Yes, he got to cut and do all that. That was just for we had to, govern over the land. He might have to cut the grass itself, what I mean, cut the tree trunks from the sides or the branches just so we can clear a path. That whole concept. And then when it comes down to how you might be hurting someone, realize you're hurting yourself. Anytime you realize you're hurting yourself, like not like let's say if someone said, "Oh, I hurt my finger," and you don't say nothing, right? But you want money. That's the idea of saying you don't have no empathy. So for a person that works with you, make sure they workable with you. Otherwise, you really aren't working with people that are with you. You're working with people who are totally against you, and it might be just that one side, the other side. And there's nothing wrong with saying they don't have to live that way. Let them live that way. Just that keep your distance as you're doing what you do, because that'll make sense to how if they ever say, well, you can't because they're that far away. You know what I'm saying? So as far as anything, the distance keeps you in a safe barrier from anything that's gonna, cause an effect to you. Because we do have causes and effects towards each other. When the bridge is closer to bridge on, then you can cross it. But if it ain't close enough from one side to the other, you mainly been putting your bridge up for someone to always meet you only right there where they actually started at. So that's not even on a level that you're really helping out. You're hurting yourself more. So when that happens, just space yourself more. Give them more patience as you give yourself that same thing. You know what I'm saying? Eventually got to come to it though, because it's all about maturity. You know what I mean? Like as the elders, we know how to give ourselves more grace. I'll forgive you. I won't forget what you did, but but I'll forgive you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's another way of looking at the Willie Lynch chip, because there's a generation of our people that we say that we might not think lived here the same time we did, and perhaps they haven't, um, or perhaps they have, and it's just not the same way. So now we got to look at it in that manner too when we revise our history or our story of how, what I'm saying, my darkest complexion to my lightest complexion, how much do we really love each other? That where if I cross the street and I see you eye to eye and you just choose not to say nothing to me because you have certain kind of privileges that maybe this type of complexion don't. And it makes it to a point where now you're seeing yourself not in the right frame of mind. And that's a hurtful piece. A lot of us know how to buck break one another in that aspect, that when it became the Prince Hall effect, that it made sure that if you was able to stay in a white collar representation, you had to make sure you downsize whoever the blue collars were, and that y'all got to end. I mean, I'm not even going any further with that. I just know that it's really the point that is from those who are my older people putting it back in, calling it an elderly thing when it ain't. You know what I'm saying? I know others from my elders, and this what makes it really different on how I can view you now, because it's past an age to 49 in my stages. So when someone can say, "Oh, you young," no, we ain't going there anymore. I'm just as young as you are. We're in the stage of ourselves. So I give thanks to y'all. I'm gonna rock out with some drumming. Go over there and get my drum right quick. If you want to say anything,
DJ Rain.
No worries, G. So okay, um, on a simplistic level for people that may be listening that may be just now getting into their spiritual journey or some type of spiritual awakening, or they're in the phase of the quote unquote black sheep phase or whatever color sheep it is. What advice would you give them, or what suggestions would you give them at this juncture of where you are?
Yeah, because I mean I feel you on the what we call the black concept to the sheep. Sheep became the ram, and the ram became sleep with the wolf, like we sleep with the sheep concept, because the wolf ended up being the idea why they even call these sheep people. Um, the crying of the wolf. You know what I'm saying? And we got a wolf whistle on this whole aspect. So it's really about the Dixie line. If you're able to, like I said, break the chain, learn your zip coon from your Jim Crow, because they call it a Jim Crow down south, up north zip coon. And why would we call these people any of that? It just became the light skin versus dark skin, the clothing of what I just explained it, from the hats on down to your shoes, from the raggedy to the rich, to the ones who didn't speak the proper language, to the ones who speak with a twang. It was like how much in the Creole have we have self destruction? If you see the self destruction, don't become the self destruction. Know it so you can apply how not to become that. Know it to apply your children how not to. See, what they want us to do is look like we're wild and savage, and that's not something we are. We were never built or brought in that way. If they got any time, look at Asir, Duke of Tears. He break a lot of that down. From the barbarian, that's a misnomer, to the Tartarians, which is also another kind of form of a misnomer. But it explains how we were the tallest to the smallest people, and we had noble abilities on many levels. So when they came up with Wild Man, it was known as a savage beast. It was connected to someone who was walking on all fours, and that wasn't us, the leper man. You know what I'm saying? So we got leprous disease. We got a lot of beast eating foods or transmitted foods from the animal. So there's a lot that from transmitted diseases from sexual bestiality became a lot of that pleasure. And in order for us to get away from all of that, realize what it is so you don't have to become it. You see a pothole, you're not gonna go into it. If you see a pothole, you're gonna figure out how to go around that sucker. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the idea every day when you wake up, don't accept the word morning. Don't accept the word nice. I don't accept that. Yeah, and I don't have to say you're saying it to the person, because you could probably start a war that you're not ready for. At least in your mind, saying you don't accept that. And you start putting that in your brain to say, I'm calling it something different. I might say greetings instead of good morning. You know, create your own language. And I know, because once I started, oh yeah, people start hitting me up. It was like, why don't you speak English? I'm like, did this come from English? Did these words I'm using come from English? So it's a lot of, you're gonna have some combative people, because they're so used to colonizing themselves. They rather you colonize yourself and get along just to get along. And we all don't have to just get along. We actually been getting along too long. So now is a point of becoming yourself. What is your true identity to yourself? And if you're able to do that, you're able to see how it works, how it benefits. Get into the grass, go to the beach. You know, don't get mad at your worker so you can get fired. Calm down and go on outside real quick. Don't hit the cigarette, do some stretches. If you gotta hit the cigarette, do some stretches and then realize the cigarette might be temporary. So hit the cigarette, put it down, and then do some more stretches because you hit the cigarette. So make it a benefit versus falling into the comfort. You know, if you like chips and all the other salty stuff, if you're going to eat it, work out. If you're going to eat it, work out. Why? Because it'll help you sweat those salts that you just put in your body. Now put some fruit in there. You know what I mean? And that's your soluble water. Then you could go back to your regular water. Because I know most people don't drink water. It's only because there's stuff in these waters. Find out which your water is favored by, which one favors you. Because, like I said, there's silver spring water, there's spring water all over here. So if you haven't found a company that you're basing where your spring water is coming from in your closest area, this is why you don't like the water because it's not from where you're at. You know what I'm saying? You buying water is way out there in Pittsburgh, and this is not Pittsburgh water over here. Yet you want to drink this water, but this water, like if you really look up, Norfolk is one of the best water, but I still wouldn't drink it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just to that point where you be like, okay, something got to be given because we're natural spring drinkers, or some might go into the distilled, but I'm not. I'm just saying certain people that have their certain collectives in their water. With that said, grabbing an instrument. If you haven't had an instrument, please start grabbing one. Go on out there, connect back to nature, tap into it, and you'll find some great results. Start recording yourself. See how you sound, you know. Put some audio to it. It ain't always gotta be video. You can hear yourself. And when it's time for you to meditate, put that music on. You ain't gotta always listen to the YouTube because you already know when the YouTube come on, there's gonna be a commercial in between. That breaks your whole meditation all up in the first place. So see if you can last 4 or 5 minutes with just your music. And then, you know what I mean? Stop it and see how you really can meditate with 5 minutes of your own music. That to me is pleasure. I've done it before. I've done it with a crowd, and I've added pieces to it because they were recording me. And you can start to, do the same thing, make a track over the track, and you could be like, wow, this is really something my people need. Is your people need it because they're waiting on you to give it to them. And that's why you're here. You're a present. You guys got to be present more. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a real great gift. You just got to start utilizing it like we're doing right now. This is helping us utilize our gifts, our talents, where we're going to be able to catapult off of this eventually to do other things. So that's why it has to be a purpose. What is your purpose? We're in a month of where it's changing from your magnetic to galactic. Now you're able to do those things. So now what is it that you like to do? You know what I mean? Like this is how the moon cycle really is effective. And since it was a blue moon, that was a once in a blue moon concept. So 19, that's a change. You went from 19, now it's 20th of the day. So we're able to see a dual world, not the dual UEL, the DUAL, that dual world. I know a lot of us want a DUEL, and this is terrible right now. If you want to keep doing that, it's trouble and bass, trouble and bass. You know, sound has trouble and bass. That's 2 points to the sound, though. You want one to where the middle of it, where the treble and bass working. EQ, equalize it. If not, it's not. It's just noise. Speaking of sound and noise, I'm gonna play my drum. You want anything else that you want to say? Any questions? No.
Yeah.
We just rock.
Yeah, G. I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to rock. I'm listening.
Oh no, I was saying if you had any questions.
Nah. I just want. I thought you was gonna do a drum set, and I was going, drum with you.
Okay, yeah, I'm about to right now. Ready?
No worries. No questions. No questions. And, oh yeah, when is the next show, or is this gonna be called Sacred Space, or we're gonna do some type of a title? Go
Oh no, we can still use that word because it's always gonna be sacred till we get it past that. So sacred sessions, we need all them sacred sessions to have the space. So I'm definitely in it to have a SP with the ace energy. Because if it's not an ace thing, we space cadets. You know what I'm saying? Like we traveling, man. We traveling. That's the equilibrium's theory versus the quantum theory. We gotta put both sides, cross it in, going into each other. Bam, vortex. Messiah. Respect. Bang. Respect. Peace to y'all. Good thanks. See y'all soon.
Appreciate you, G. When is our next show?
Whenever you want it.
All right. We're gonna figure out the topic. We're gonna pop back out, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed it. And y'all did you take notes. Make sure you take notes. Make sure you rewind. Make sure you share all over when it finally gets to you. And peace and love. Any final thoughts? Anything else? Anything else on your heart and your spirit and your mental? Anything else?